Okay, this week's episode of Wrestling Fans Insight is just me and Carlos. John and William are out with COVID. Wishing them a speedy recovery. As usual, we're going to go over the week's episodes of Raw and NXT and SmackDown, and then AEW Dynamite and Rampage. Carlos, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing good. Been working a lot lately, but I want to wish a speedy recovery to both John and William. Hope you guys are feeling better and hope to have you guys back next week. It's been an interesting week for wrestling, that's for sure.
Slim pickings for me.
Well, for me, it was more about all the news going on. You know, I know we just cover AEW and WWE, but also just NWA and that whole controversy and then their new champion last night. It's been an interesting week for wrestling in general, that's for sure.
Yeah, I didn't like them too much. Like, it's like just too many video packages, like I was telling you earlier, too many video packages, too many backstage segments, and too many promos. But okay, let's go ahead with the results of Raw. Okay, we had the Usos and Solo versus the New Day. The Usos and Solo won. Then we had Baron Corbin versus Cedric Alexander. Baron Corbin wins. Otis versus Elias. And I cannot speak today. Otis wins. Austin Theory versus Shelton Benjamin. Austin Theory wins. The Miz versus Johnny Gargano. The Miz wins. Nikki Cross versus Dana Brooke, which was really not even a match for the 24/7 championship. 24/7 championship, Nikki Cross wins. Let's see. What did you think of Raw?
Then you have the last match too, right? Don't forget the last match.
Oh, good Lord. I left that one up. I'm sorry. I didn't even want to know that one in match. I didn't even want to know that one in match because that one was stupid. That wasn't even a match. I was going to save that for another totally different segment because that was really dumb. Like, what kind of person cashes in their Money in the Bank on a open challenge?
Mm-hmm. Well, to finish it off, so the last match of the night, we saw Seth freaking Rollins defeat Austin Theory in, I guess, what was supposed to be originally U.S. title match opening, but turned into a cash-in for the Money in the Bank for the U.S. title, which, again, we'll talk about that more. So did you want to cover the rest of the WWE results, or you want to just talk about Raw first? What do you want to do?
Just cover the rest of the results now, and we'll go back to Raw.
Let's do that. All right, sounds good.
Okay. NXT, we have Joe Gacy versus Cameron Grimes. Joe Gacy gets the win. Sol Ruca versus Elektra Lopez. Elektra Lopez gets the win. We have Charlie Dempsey versus Andre Chase. Charlie Dempsey gets the win because Duke Hudson was throwing in the towel, whatever that was about.
Lazy booking, and that's the theme of today, lazy booking.
We have Hank Walker versus Stax. Stax wins. JD McDonough versus Axiom. JD McDonough wins due to referee stoppage. We have Brutus Creed versus Damon Kipp. It was supposed to be a 5-minute match, which ended up in a disqualification because Brutus got disqualified. Then we have Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark versus Kaden Carter and Katana Chance for the NXT Tag Championship. Carter and Chance win. And then we see Zoe turn on Nikita. Okay, then we have SmackDown. The Usos versus the New Day for the Undisputed Tag Team Championship. The Usos retain. And then Shinsuke Nakamura versus Santos Escobar for the first round of the SmackDown World Cup. Santos advances. Then we have a 6-pack challenge for number one contender for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And it had Liv Morgan, Sonya Deville, Lacey Evans, Shotzi, Xia Li, and Raquel Rodriguez. Shotzi wins that one. And then we have Braun Strowman versus Jinder Mahal for another first round match
I guess we'll start with Raw. So, the opening segment I thought was really great. Again, it was until you said till Riddle ruined it. My thing for me about Riddle is I get it, dude. You like to smoke weed, So it's I'm over it. I'm over the little cheesy weed references. I just, again, for me, it's very exhausting. It's I get it, dude. We get it. You like to smoke weed. To me, it's the jokes are just coming off lame and stupid. And to me, he's killing the segment. I need something else done with him. I either need him to turn heel or I just need to go back to being more of a badass. I know they're waiting for Randy to turn heel, but maybe it's just time that Riddle turns heel, especially with Owens and Seth Rollins both being faces. Maybe he can just go back to being a heel because it's not doing anything for me at all. I did think that was a good win for Solo to get the single win over Rollins, especially considering that he had had main event a pay-per-view with Rollins, Extreme Rules. So I thought that was a good win for him. Again, JBL, it is what it is. I feel and I like Baron Corbin. I'm probably one of the few that does, but I feel him. He's the heel version of Matt Riddle right now. He just comes out. I'm just the open challenge thing again was just, to me, it was lazy booking. It was just kind of okay, so we got to have the OC come out and interrupt because we got to get them on TV for this feud. And again, it was cool to see Mia Yim back. But again, it's just one of those things where, again, it was to me, it was just lazy booking. It's just wasting television time. Then you had the backstage segment with them. Otis and Elias really did nothing for me. Alexa and them again, the whole segment with Alexa, them and Damage Control and Bianca. I'm excited for the War Games match, but again, for me, after seeing Bayley lose to Bianca twice already, it's who's the strong challenger in that thing. So unless they're gonna put a Charlotte Flair in there with them, again, I think the match concept is cool, but I'm just not really that excited about it, to be honest. And then again, I just feel like the build-up could have been different for all those women in general. Again, I like the Miz's tactics. I thought that was a cool. Way for him to do. I like him kind of pretending like Dexter was underneath the ring. I liked him getting the win like that. Nikki throwing the belt to the trash, whatever. And again, to me, yeah, that just was really, we're gonna do that to the belt. Just again, there's a way to retire the belt with some prestige more than just throwing it in the trash, even miss. And then for me, again, the whole thing. So I don't know if they're trying to bury Ali for the U.S. Open Challenge. They're trying to bury him because he what he said to Braun, retaliation. But I just thought, so you ruined Ali. You made Bobby Lashley look like an idiot because why would he just go and cash in on Theory or on why would he just finish the job and take out Rollins and get the belt back? And then for me, it was one of those things where, why is he, again, to me, I get they don't like Theory, but you just cheapen the whole Money in the Bank concept with that whole cash in. For me, again, it goes to lazy booking. To me, the one thought that came to mind for me with that whole, the whole thing about Raw was, if you're gonna fix the mistakes of Vince, then why not just come out and be like, hey, why not just have Theory come out and challenge Roman Reigns to a match on Raw in a week and say, I'm challenging you for the WWE title, and then why not just have Roman come and say, you know what, you don't call the shots to WWE, have him forfeit the title, and you have your world champion back on Raw. I feel like the one thing about Raw, and again, I like the bloodline, but I feel like Raw is just hurting. Because to me, let's say, for example, if you had the world title on there, you got Rollins and Lashley going after that. If you had the U.S. title free, that would add so much more to the whole OC and Judgment Day feud. If you had maybe the belt on Finn and him and AJ going back for it, and even if you had the tag titles on, let's say on Dominic and I can't think of his name right now, Damian Priest, the OC was going after that. If I feel like Raw's being hampered right now because it doesn't really have the championships that it should have to kind of furry storylines. So that's all I got for Raw right now. Why don't you talk about Raw, then we'll go on to the NXT.
I like with Raw, the whole thing with Baron Corbin. I'm glad that he's back to Baron Corbin instead of being Happy Corbin. That whole thing was getting on my nerves really bad. And I'm glad that Mia Yim is back because they took care of that Rhea problem, that everybody was talking about. And now that it's 4-on-4 now, I'm looking forward to that. The whole Nikki Cross thing, I'm still not really understanding, but I'm glad that she's back to maybe herself instead of the whole ASH gimmick. But she's like really crazy right now. And let's see, like the whole thing, like with Austin Theory cashing in for the U.S. title, like it was just totally dumb. Like, has he taken too many super kicks to the head or something? Like, I mean, are there few screws loose or something? I mean, because like you said, he could have come up there and finished it off and got the belt back. Like, I just don't get that whole concept of that. And like, Ali was trying to challenge, and then Bobby Lashley come out there and just picked him up and threw him over, and then that was the end of that. And they had the whole thing where it wasn't really a match. He just beat the hell out of Seth, and then here comes Theory down there, like he thought he was going to do something, and no, that didn't happen. So it's like it just doesn't make any sense to me with that whole match right there. And I'm glad that they're getting rid of the 24/7 championship, because it was just dumb. Like the whole time anytime that I thought it was any fun was when R-Truth had it. And then the Miz and Johnny Gargano, when he went up under the ring pretending like Dexter Lumis was grabbing it so he could grab the turnbuckle or whatever the hell that he had, that was stupid. Like the whole thing, like that I had a problem with this week. There were so many interferences, so many distractions, and everything going on. Like, let there be some clean finishes. Let the matches go on and get clean wins. That's what I had the problem with. It is just really got on my nerves this week. But pretty much overall, that was like, that's my opinion on Raw. So, like, if you want to go into NXT, you can start off.
Sure. So let me ask you this question: what would you, if you were the booker for, let's say, for Raw, how would you handle the Money in the Bank cash in? Like, what would you have done?
I would not have had him cash in, not on the U.S. title and not in the way that he did. It did not make any sense because it was an open challenge. Like, why cash in? Come out there and have the match and try to get the U.S. title back. Don't cash in. That is just, it's dumb. Like, the cash in for the Money in the Bank, contract is supposed to be for like the world title, the Undisputed Championship or whatever like that. That's what I don't understand. He used it basically. I'm not saying the U.S. title is not a good title, but it basically wasted his contract on the U.S. title for an open challenge. That does not make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, and that's for me. Like, that's what I kind of felt too. Like, like if it, like, for me, like, I get that maybe like Vince booked him into a corner by putting all the belts on Roman and everything else, and then maybe he feels Theory's too young to be Mr. Money in the Bank. But then don't half-ass fix it all the way. Like, again, get the belt off Roman somehow. And, and then get Raw back its championship. That's, and then even with the tag titles, like, for me, that was my thing. I think, okay, like, today in wrestling, it's okay to, like, let's make reality. Just come out and say USA Network wants their titles back, and if the Usos and the Roman don't want to, answer to Raw, then make them give the titles back and just handle it that way, and again, so it's like, if you're going to do it all the way, not this half-ass thing. And like I said, I feel like they've really been booked into a corner with having all the belts on the Bloodline. And again, like, I think if Raw had its titles back, I think it would just help storylines so much better. You kind of see that point, or no?
Yeah, I do. I think the Raw needs their belt, the title, the championship, the world championship back, and they need their tag belts back. It does not make any sense to have the Bloodline have all of the belts. That does not make any sense to me, because what belts really does Raw have? Like, what, the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title is on SmackDown, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so really, what belts does Raw have?
Exactly. They just have the U.S. title and the women's title, and that's what I mean. So it's like, the storylines there are stagnant and feeling like less important because they don't have the titles. And I think the Bloodline would be fine just with the Universal and SmackDown tag titles, you know? So again, like, just like you're saying, fix the mistakes of the past and give Raw back their titles. So it would just help. Like, again, if the OC and the Judgment Day were feuding over those secondary titles, it would just make their storyline that much more exciting. That's what I think too, you know?
Yeah, I do. I think so too.
Thanks. Cool. I like it. All right. So let's move. So you have anything else for Raw?
No, I have nothing else.
Out of sight, out of mind, huh? So for NXT in the opener, we had Joe Gacy defeating Cameron Grimes. Then there was a barbershop segment where Carmelo Hayes said he's coming back for the North American title. And I guess he's going to have a title shot with Wesley, I believe, in a week and I think from this time, about a week and a half, the next Tuesday. Elektra Lopez defeated Solo Ruka. Then Charlie Dempsey. So you already said all the results. So for me, the highlights for me was I like JD McDonough and Axiom. And for again, like going back to what you said before, if I was Triple H, I would bring back the Cruiserweight Championship and put it on JD McDonough. You know, I think right now with the talent they have, I think because again, if you're not going to ever make him the NXT champion, then why not have another belt for the lighter guys to feud over? And I think, and again, they can even have it on all three brands. You know, I just think like the guys like him, I think it would. I just thought, man, why not bring the Cruiserweight title back and have them fight over that? So I thought him and Axiom did a good job. With Von Wagner, like just. After this match, just put him on the main roster and let him sink or swim. And if he doesn't swim, get him out of here because I have no interest in hearing him talk. Like again, I thought we give him mouthpiece for a reason. I thought that whole segment with the wet water effect was just dragging. So, but again, the highlight for me, again, I love Carter and Chance defeating Nikita Lyons and Zoe Starks. For me, Carter and Chance, to me, they're like the WWE version of the Acclaimed, and they're not as over, but they're like that team that you kind of rooted for because I feel like they were like the one tag team that WWE always had. NXT women, they always kind of got left in the foreground, and for all these other teams to get makeshifted, and it's just finally nice to see them get in their glory and getting to show because they wrestle really good as a tag team, and I love seeing them get the big win, and I love seeing them getting showcased in the main event. I thought that was really, really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that match with them. That match was really good. But of course, I didn't like the end result, you know, with Zoe Starks turning on Nikita Lyons, but which I kind of felt it coming because, like I said, they didn't really mesh as a tag team to me. I felt like they both would be better off as singles competitors. You know, that was just my opinion, though. How did you feel about that?
You know, for me, like the thing I would like about WWE is the one thing that, again, if I was the general manager or if I would just like to see the girls stay together, you know, like, because I think in life, you know, girls need their girlfriends, right? You know, like, and I think like it'd be okay to have women stick together and just have their friend that they team up with, but it could be okay for them to go and be single stars too. I don't see, like, especially with the women's division, this need to like break people up and have them fight with each other. I would love to see a time where it's like you have a girl that has your back, and sometimes you go after the world champ, you go after the main title, and sometimes you go after the tag titles. I just think if they did something like that, it would keep everything more refreshing. Just my kind of thought about that.
Yeah.
But I think I do like Zoe Stark as a heel, though. But again, why not just keep them together, you know?
Well, yeah, I just didn't feel like they meshed, in my opinion. But you know, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from too. One thing that I didn't like is JD McDonough hurting Axiom like he did. But of course, he's the big time heel, you know, but because that was a really good match. And then, of course, he had to screw it up because he's an ass. But anyway, and then the whole thing with Joe Gacy and Cameron Grimes, Joe Gacy is just a creep. He creeps me out, man. Just looking at him and the way he acts and stuff just creeps me out. And then the whole thing with Charlie Dempsey and Andre Chase, like, why did Duke Hudson throw in the towel? You know, what was that about? And you know what? I'm waiting on Duke Hudson to turn on Andre Chase. I have this feeling that that's coming.
Oh, it's definitely coming. I think it just goes back to what we were saying before, like the theme of today's show, lazy booking. So I think
Yeah.
I think both those. I think all those things are just a way of like trying to protect somebody with the loss. But to me, it's like NXT is development, and to me, like it's okay to let the guys take the L's in NXT, because let them come up later on, Like I don't want like you said, I don't want to see this shady like wins and losses in NXT. Like it's developmental. Let these guys get good wins and losses, and just let it play out instead of having to protect. You should have to protect somebody in developmental. It's developmental for a reason,
Yeah, I just like I said, it's just too many interferences and too many distractions and all that stuff this week is what I felt like with everything.
And I understand. Again, I feel that 100%.
Yeah. Did you have anything else on NXT?
No, I'm good. We can go ahead and move to SmackDown. Why don't you start this time?
Okay. Like the Usos versus the New Day, I thought that was a really good match right there. I really did. Like, it's just, I don't know, because they were battling for the number of days of how long the championship they'd have, because the Usos were fixing past the New Day's reign. We already knew that New Day wasn't gonna win because they want the belts on the bloodline. But I still thought it was a really good match. And the 6-pack challenge with the women, it kind of surprised me with Shotzi winning, but I guess she deserves her chance to be the number one contender. I like that match. But as far as the rest, I didn't really like. And then like Zelina Vega and B5 supposed to be wrestling, and the Viking Raiders with Sarah Logan come back and attack them. Okay. What was the purpose of that? I mean,
yeah.
So, but yeah, and then the end was pretty good when Roman was out there and the Brawling Brutes came out. And then Sheamus was back, and then all that. So the ending was pretty good to SmackDown.
Right. So for me, like the thing about the tag match, and as again for me, like let's talk about a little bit of AEW. So on AEW, you had a 2 out of 3 falls match, which didn't need to be a 2 out of 3 falls match. I think I would have loved to see the Usos and New Day be 2 out of 3 falls. That was my one thing about it. Like I would have loved to see them both win a fall for their legacy, and then for it to come down to the end, of who's going to get the third fall. Like I think if it would have been 2 out of 3 falls, it would have been even better. It was a great match, but I would have loved to see like New Day at least get 1 fall to like kind of protect their legacy before going down in a loss. And again, to me, like for me, like my thing again was like the whole lazy booking theme, like. Again, it's like, so they're just giving us a 6-pack challenge just to make us care that Shotzi got a chance. It's like we've seen so many of them already. It just kind of lost its luster to me. And again, I get it. It's like they're trying to make it to where, excuse me for a second. They're trying to make it to where, Shotzi seems like a viable contender. It's like, to me, like, I would have been happy to show some more video package from NXT. I love the whole stare down between LA Knight and Bray. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, they're just throwing him into a match. They're going to just throw a segment in. What was the buildup? And then for me, too, I like seeing Santos Escobar get a big win over Shinsuke Nakamura. I thought that was good for his character development. Again, why bring Jinder back if you're going to just have him lose to Braun Strowman? That part kind of got to me. And the thing for me about like you were saying about them attacking B5, like who is Tit Row? Like they haven't won anything yet, but like won a match over over Maximum Male Models, and like they're being attacked like they're the number 1 team on SmackDown. It doesn't make any sense to me. I get like they're probably hurting for like face teams, but like why not have the Viking Raiders just attack the Usos? I don't think Sarah Logan needs to be put into a program right away for a singles match. They got plenty of other single wrestlers they're not utilizing right now. Like, excuse me, I'm okay with these ladies just coming back and being managers for now, then eventually get them in the ring. But I don't think they need to push them so far in the ring when we already have other established talent that could be doing that and getting that match. And especially when we already had a 6-pack challenge match in there earlier. And again, it is what it is. I mean, it's like, again, kind of this like lazy booking. They're going to have to get the bloodline and the Brawling Brutes, and then into it. They had to get that War Games match set up, so they just kind of did it in an easy way, you know. But I'm excited to see who the fifth member is going to be on that. Do you think it's going to be Kevin Owens?
I would hope so. I mean, I'm really liking the way Kevin Owens is going with his whole thing anyway, so that would be a good match right there.
Yeah, you know, and for me too, like, again, because I know they could just have it there now and like, even like have something happen to where, you know, it delays the whole Sammy turn because I know they want to keep it going longer. But again, for me, it has to be Owens.
Yeah, I think that would really be a good pick right there.
For sure. And so again, that's all I got for that. You know, again, I'm excited about the LA Wyatt Brian Wyatt possible match, but again, we kind of got there quick. We went from promos to a match, but at the same time, I'm ready to see Bray fight. You know, and I am interested to see where his character is going to go because I wonder if they're going to have him be a heel and a face. Like, you know, we'll have Bray Wyatt the face, and then have him as a heel and whatever persona he's going to be. So I am definitely interested in that for sure.
Yeah, I am too, because like the LA Knight back there talking, and then boom, there's Bray Wyatt, and you're like, okay, where is this going? And then they got a match, so I just want to see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, and I'm excited for LA Knight to see again. That guy even when I used to see him in TNA, I was like, this dude can talk, you know. So I love seeing him get this shine.
Okay, you ready to go into Dynamite?
Sure, let's go. So in the opening match, we had the Acclaim and FTR defeat the Ass Boys, as I call them, and Swerve in Our Glory. We had a good opening. We had a good interview with MJF, just talking about, you know, him coming after Mox. We saw Ethan Page defeat Eddie Kingston in the opening round of the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament. We saw Wardlow defeat Daivari in a squash match, which led to Wardlow calling out Hobbs, which led to Samoa Joe turning on Wardlow. Rest in peace for Joe. We had Saraya and Britt Baker in a great in-ring segment, which led to the match being announced at Full Gear. So we're going to be getting Saraya versus Britt Baker. We had Jay Lethal defeat Trent after the usual shenanigans from Lethal's crew. We got an in-ring segment with Mox and Regal talking about their history and just kind of, you know, preparing the match for, you know, MJF doesn't know who the devil, he's never seen the devil in his eyes before, but Mox has. And in the main event, we had Bryan Danielson defeat Sammy Guevara in a 2 out of 3 falls match. And then over on Rampage, we had a face-to-face confrontation between Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus to make the steel cage match at Full Gear. We had Brian Cage defeat Dante Martin to advance in the WWE World Title Elimination Tournament. And we also had Bandito defeat Roosh to advance in the tournament. We had Nyla Rose defeat Kayla Sparks on a squash match. And in the main event, we had Orange Cassidy defeat Lee Johnson to retain the All-Atlantic Championship. So what did you think about AEW, Heather?
I thought AEW was okay. The first match with FTR and the Acclaim versus the Ass Boys, because that's what I call them too. Swerve in Our Glory, that was a pretty good match right there. I like that match. The Ethan Page versus Eddie Kingston. I was hoping Eddie Kingston would win, but you know, of course, Ethan Page won. Then, you know, of course, Ethan Page was going to face the winner of Roosh versus Bandito. I'm sick of the squash matches with Wardlow, and they need to get rid of that freaking crap where they do him like Goldberg when he's coming out. Like, I'm so over that. Like, stop, you know? And then I didn't like that Samoa Joe turned on Wardlow. And like the whole thing between Britt Baker and Saraya, was really good. Like the way Saraya talked about her history with everything, her drug addiction, and how she's put her body on the line for everything. I thought that was a really good segment. And then she said, you know, she said she was 100% clear to wrestle. And then Jamie Hayter versus Sky Blue, it was okay. Like it felt like kind of a squash match to me. I mean, except for it went longer, but it was a pretty good match too. But like Trent Beretta and versus Jay Lethal, that was another interference in the match right there. And then I like the Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara, but like 2 out of 3 matches, it really didn't have to be that. I'm really getting tired of them wrestling. Like I hopefully that is over with. They're not going to wrestle anymore. And that's all I got for Dynamite. Did you have anything on Dynamite?
Oh yeah. So for me, like, so I like the opening match. It was fun. But one thing that I loved was just seeing like 2 teams that are AEW originals, you know, like the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys. Again, I think the Ass Boys have really come a long way. So I thought it was just really good to see them have a good match. But again, for me, it's one of those things where like the one thing about with AEW right now is it's so colluded with just a lot of talent. It's like, so we're getting this great match with FTR and Ass Boys, but I don't think we're going to see them at Full Gear. We're probably going to see them at, at the next Death Before Dishonor, but it's just a lot of TV time is being dedicated to things that don't really apply to the pay-per-view. And then with you, I got to give props, and he'll be in my top 10, just a little spoiler, was Eddie Kingston. I just really thought it was really cool for him to put Ethan Page over in that kind of way, like letting him give the Ego's edge off the top rope. I just kind of thought not many talent would do that, and I really thought that was really cool of Eddie Kingston to kind of give that shine to Ethan Page, who's somebody that I know fans, including myself, have really been wanting to see get his opportunity in AEW. So I thought that was good. To me, again, like I didn't really need that Wardlow Davari squash match in order to get to the point where Joe turned on Wardlow. They could have done that a different way. Again, I would have just have them all 3 being a match, him, Hobbs, and Joe just being a match at Full Gear. Then have Joe turn on him there and have him cost him the title for Hobbs. Like, to me, that would have made a lot more sense in booking wise than what they did on Wednesday. And again, Saraya and Britt Baker, I think it's a great segment, but again, I agree with what a lot of people have been saying online. Like, I think Saraya needs to be a little careful because the fans really do love Britt a lot, and she needs to just watch it to make sure the fans don't turn on her, with Colin, because that is Britt's house that she built. I don't think they're ready to say it's Paige's house. And again, I think fans know what Paige is giving to this business, but Britt's given a lot too. So I feel like there's just like be careful. You're walking a thin line there, Saraya. I'm with you. Like, I didn't need that squash match. They could have easily had an interview segment with Sting and, to set up that match. I didn't really need to see that match to have that match set up for Full Gear. And again, with the AEW crowd, I think Tony needs to realize these guys just love a match thrown at them. Like the AEW fans, you could have just announced that match without, you could have just announced Sting and Darby against Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, and fans would have just been happy with that. You didn't need to have that match in order to sell the pay-per-view match. I'm with you. Like, I didn't really need Jimmy Hayter and Sky Blue. The one thing I would like for AEW fans to kind of realize sometimes is if there's a really good woman segment on a 2-hour show, like that is just as good as a match, And for me, like having that segment with Saraya and Britt Baker, that is just as good as having a women's match on TV. So again, I didn't really need to have a women's match on TV that really did nothing to excel the storyline. I would have rather had that time go to the main event, which again, like you, I'm like you, like I like Sammy and I like Brian, like the American Dragon, but for me, like I don't want to see a 2 out of 3 falls match with only 20 minutes of TV time to start off. So that took me out of the match already. And then to me, like Sammy should have been, if you're going to disqualify Sammy for using a chair, why wasn't he disqualified for using the microphone? Like, to me, the match should have been over in 2 minutes. So that kind of took me out of the match. But again, it was a great match, but it was just the psychology of it. Again, should have had more TV time. And again, if you're going to disqualify him for that, why don't you disqualify him for the other thing as well? So that was my thoughts about AEW Dynamite. What do you think?
I'm done with what I had to say about it.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. All right, so let's move on to Rampage. So for Rampage, we had a face-to-face confrontation between Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus to set up their steel cage match at Full Gear. We had Brian Cage defeat Dante Martin. Oh, I already read that. So again, what did you think about that Rampage? You start off. Sorry.
It was okay. Like the whole Christian Cage and Luchasaurus and face to face with Jungle Boy and everything just to set up the match. We didn't need that. And then Brian Cage winning against Who did he win against?
Dante Martin.
Sorry. It was obvious who was going to win that match. Brian Cage, because, he's just more the machine is what they call him, The Roos versus Bandito match, I liked that one. And I was glad that Bandito won. Carlos?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. I was happy that Bandito won that one, and the Nyla Rose Kayla Sparks match didn't need that. And then I liked that Orange Cassidy retained against Lee Johnson.
Cool. So for me, when Rampage was originally announced, it wasn't just announced as the three final matches in the Eliminator tournament. And again, I was just happy for that. So again, for me, it's one of those things where like again, going back to the whole lazy booking thing, like I would have been cool with Rampage not having a women's match. I've just seen those 3 first round matches, for the Eliminator title tournament, excuse me, instead of Ricky Starks and Lance Archer getting, bumped to the next week, which I don't get it. Like if he's going to try to make Ricky Starks, fight 3 matches in a week, that really doesn't matter because he's still getting space in between. I just didn't like that, And again, I agree with you. That match didn't need to make sense. The booking didn't make sense either. Again, if I am Jade, I'm going to go after Marina, who has my title. Why is she going in the ring to attack Nyla? I'm going to go beat up Marina Shafir and get my title back. Like, to me, that just didn't make any sense at all. And I was thinking, like, they should just make it a ladder match, let them fight in a ladder match. That way, the possession of that way you address who gets possession of the title, Brian Cage, he's for 30 minutes. We're from the same hometown area, so the 530. So I always root for that guy, and I'd like to see him getting his shine back and getting utilized in a good way. I think he's a unique talent, and I really enjoyed his match with Dante Martin. I love this finisher that he used. And again, giving some, love to, Lucha as, again, Bandito with the great run over Rouge. I really enjoyed that. But again, for me, it's like the main event, I didn't really need it because I'm like, what are we going to get? Are we going to get Orange Cassidy versus, what's his name? Who's the leader of their thing? God, I can't get it. I'm having a brain fart. Marshall versus Orange Cassidy at Full Gear. I mean, is what we're gonna get? Like, that's like, are they really gonna set up for that? Like, to me, it was like, okay, because they did like a little story at the end. I'm like, please don't put that match on because fans will just shit all over that, even if it's on the free show. So, for me, it was just one of those things where, again, like, I love Orange Cassidy, but so much time has been dedicated to him on these last few weeks, and he doesn't even have a pay-per-view match yet, And so it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, why are you dedicating so much time to somebody who doesn't even have a pay-per-view match yet, And as far as that goes, I thought, if you're going to do it, why not just do a fatal 4-way, for the AEW trios titles? Have the returning Black, the House of Black with the Elite versus, the Best Friends versus, what's the group with God, brain fart time with Pac and the Luchadors, have those teams all face off against each other in a fatal 4-way. That'd be kind of cool,
Yeah, I think that would be. So too.
Again, that to me was just, it's like, again, it's like, I feel like, things are being forced on us. And it's like, again, if I'm going to see these guys on TV, like, I want to know they're going to have a match in the pay-per-view. And I feel like maybe they should have just started the build up for Full Gear a couple of weeks earlier, because I feel like a lot of stuff's being crammed down our throats last minute.
Yeah, I do too.
And that's kind of all. That's kind of my thoughts for AEW.
It's slim pickings this week, and that's why I had a hard time coming up with my top 10, because there's just like the matches were just, there's not enough matches really, and like I said, a lot of interference, a lot of distractions, and like that's why I had a hard time coming up with my top 10. So you ready to go into the top 10?
Yeah, let's do the top 10.
Okay, you start first with your number 10.
So for number 10, I got Eddie Kingston. Again, like, I thought he did a really good job of putting over Ethan Page. So I have Eddie Kingston as my number 10.
Okay, I have number 10 as Charlie Dempsey. And this week was just slim pickings for me. I couldn't come up with anything. So what's your number 9?
So my number 9 is the Ass Boys. Again, I just looking at them and how they've wrestled, they come a long way. So I thought, again, they kudos for how good they come along as far as talent goes in AEW.
Okay, my number 9 is Johnny Gargano. I thought he did pretty good this week.
Sounds good. My number 8 was Shotzi. Again, I thought Shotzi, again, earning the chance to show what she can do, and getting the women's title match against Ronda again. So Shotzi's my number 8.
Okay, my number 8 is Axiom. Even though he got hurt, I thought it was a really good match.
Sounds good. I like that pick. So for number 7, I had Santos Escobar, again, getting a win over Shinsuke Nakamura, former King of the Ring winner, Intercontinental Champion, former NXT Champion, U.S. title holder, tag champ. I thought that was a good win for him. So number 7, I got Santos.
Number 7, I went ahead and put Jamie Hayter, even though it wasn't really a long match and it really kind of we didn't really need it, but I went ahead and put her because she's just a good wrestler.
And I like that pick. And sometimes it's about potential, and I like that pick. Oh, so number 6, I had JD McDonough. Again, I was interested to see what they were going to do with him coming out of the NXT title match. And I just like the character setup for him coming off as a badass. So I had him as number 6.
I have Bandito as number 6.
Sounds good. So my number 5, again, is a 5-3-0 zone, Brian Cage. Again, I just thought he had a good match, and I love his offense. And again, I like seeing him advance to the second round of the Eliminator title tournament.
Number 5, I put Orange Cassidy. I'm telling you, slim pickings this week.
So good. That's one of the benefits of being a wrestling fan. Number 4 for me was Saraya. Again, it's not about necessarily the match for me, but just the fact that she got her clearance to come back. And I just think it's going to be cool to see her wrestle. And again, just seeing the emotion that came in her face when she got to announce that she got to wrestle again, I thought it was a really cool moment for wrestling fans.
Okay, what number are we on?
Number 4.
Number 4, I put the Acclaimed because I thought they really did good in that match.
Sounds good. So for my number 3, it was Carter and Chance again. I thought they had a great week. Again, getting to see them main event NXT. And see them, just as a tag team, getting to see that. Just again, I love their offense as a tag team together. So they're my number 3 this week.
Okay, my number 3, I put the New Day because, like I said, I really enjoyed that match between them and the Usos. I just thought it was an all-around good match.
All right, and my number 2 for me, again, I couldn't hear you. I don't know what's going on with this. Number 2 for me, just his match over Eddie Kingston, and again, I just thought it was a good matchup for Ethan Page. So he's my number 2.
Number 2, I just went ahead and put FTR because like I said, I just really enjoyed that match too.
And who was your number 2? I didn't hear you. I just got you back.
FTR.
Oh, okay, sounds good. All right. And I think we both probably had the same number 1. My number 1 was the Usos. Again, can't go wrong with them. Congratulations to them for getting the longest tag team title win. So again, Usos were my number 1 this week.
My number 1 was Bryan Danielson.
No love for the Usos, dang,
no, I gave Roman Reigns love last week, so I can't do the bloodline 2 weeks in a row.
Oh my God, dang, man, Blair, I love it. Guess not feeling Usi no more, huh?
No, not this week. Okay, we're going to do the ending segment where we thank Libsyn for hosting the podcast, Pixabay for the royalty-free music, and everyone for tuning in. This week's Good Pods listeners ranked us at number 5 in top 100 for indie wrestling chart, number 5 in top 100 wrestling chart, and number 8 in top 100 indie sports chart. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and any other place you can listen to podcasts. John's shout outs for the week is Wrestling World, hosted by Austin Warrior, Chime In Podcast, Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast, 8750 Podcast, and Today We Laughed and Learned Podcast. Carlos, do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, let's shout out the fans of pro wrestling on Facebook, the page on this for this group. Of course, BC Hunter, Nightmare James, Wrestling with the Truth, The Whole Truth of Ted Billy Hill. And let's give a shout out to Top Out Talk on YouTube with again our friend Brian the Hype Ballard. And then of course the usual NWO Machine, Vader from Wish. And then also would like to give a special shout out to Hooked on Wrestling. They're in the UK, and if you guys ever want to check them out, they actually do a wrestling trivia game. It comes on the same time as us. But hey, sometimes you gotta share the love. It comes on at 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern time on Facebook. And again, it's called Hooked on Wrestling Events, and it's a fun group that Sarah Execution 84 introduced me to, and they do like a lot of fun wrestling trivia. So again, if you ever want to check them out, check them out. That's all I got.
Okay, you took all my shout outs.
Sorry.
So yeah, you shout out the same people that I was going to shout out because they're all wonderful people that all have great podcasts. So make sure you check them out. I want to give a shout out to Jess, Obey Jess, because she's always here listening to us and supporting us.
Jess. We appreciate you, Jess.
Yeah, she's always here supporting us. And just shout out to everybody that supports us and listens to us every week. So,
yeah, go ahead. All the people on Good Pod, thank you for keeping the show us alive, and let's keep it going. That's awesome stuff. Congratulations.
And Carlos, if you want to give your handle on Twitter, we can do that.
Yeah, my handle on Twitter is C to the LOS 77, and then for my nonprofit, that is Conquer the No. Thank you for that.
Oh, and mine is at BamaGirl _4_EVA, Bama Girl Forever, and Roll Tide Bitches. And I guess yes, and I guess that is it for today. And just thank y'all for tuning in.
All right, have a wonderful day, everybody, and stay blessed. Thank you for tuning in.